Are you ready to take a break from the present? Come on a journey with me, back to 8-bit.
Hello and welcome to Back to 8-bit. Today I'm going to have a look at the 8BitDo arcade stick. I've already taken it out of the box and given it a very quick test to make sure it all works, and it does, and so far so good. I am fairly impressed with it. So I'm going to show you a bit more about it and tell you what I got with it. And inside the box you do get the power lead, it's the USB Type-C connector, which you can plug into the back of the machine and charge the unit up, or run the controller straight from a wire to your MiSTer or PC, or whichever you want to use it for. I purchased my arcade stick purely to use for the MiSTer FPGA, and that's what my review and information is going to be completely based on. You do get the instruction leaflet as well inside the box as well, and there is a sort of template as well for the switches that came with it. But we'll take that off. We don't really need that. But to give you a brief a guide to what these buttons are for, you've got the off switch, and then you can turn it to the left for the Nintendo Switch settings, and turn it to the X for the other input settings. So for me, I'll always use it for the MiSTer, so I will place it on the X. Now when I turn it on, it should all light up here, and that should light up as well to show it's being connected. So let's switch it on. Yep, there you go. And if I do switch it over to the switch, you will notice the lighting, the information panel does change a little bit to reflect the switch controller. Okay, this switch is for the joystick, and the LS stands for obviously the left stick, as if it was a PlayStation controller. R stick is for the right stick controller, and DP is obviously your D-pad if you want to use your joystick as a D-pad setting. Obviously you've only got the one joystick with this, so you know, depending on how you've got your MiSTer set up, or how you've got your PC set up, you can transfer it to whatever you want to use it. I always leave it on the left stick because you do map this with MiSTer, so you really don't need to mess about with that, because you map your controller up to the way you want it. And the green button here is your Bluetooth pairing button. The yellow button here, that's for turbo select, so you can actually press that button and obviously put one of these switches so you can rapidly press fire button. So it's like a turbo button for your arcade stick. The blue button is pretty much for take you back to the home screen, so I think you only really need that if you are using this stick for the Nintendo Switch, to be able to go straight back to the home screen with that. Okay, there's a couple of buttons here as well, which is programmable buttons for macro settings, but you can find more information about that on the website, how to program those. These here, this is the option to be able to connect via Bluetooth, or connect from the 2.4G connector that automatically comes with the 8BitDo. And obviously the usual select and start buttons that you've got. You've got the pad here as well. I'll just turn this off while I change these around. So you've got the arcade stick and several fire buttons that can be mapped independently to the MiSTer. Lifting it up at the back here, this is where you can connect your USB lead to. Okay, and that's where you connect the USB-C to it, and obviously get the unit charged up. Now it does say on a full charge, you can run this stick for up to 40 hours. So that's really good. And then obviously then you do have a stick that, whoops, you do have your 2.4 stick here, which is always stored in the back here. So you just take that out and plug it straight into one of your MiSTer USB ports, and it will work straight off by selecting the 2.4G and turning it to the X position, and then you'll be able, once you've mapped it on the MiSTer, you'll be able to play it without any issues. Okay, and I've had a play with it. I do really like it. The unit is quite weighty. It weighs 2.5 kilograms. So it's probably just a bit lighter than a PlayStation 4 console, and probably half the weight of a PlayStation 5, just to give you a rough idea of what it feels like. Again, the stick feels nice, and again, it works on an 8 directional program. I was kind of hoping this would be an analog joystick, because a lot of games now perform quite well with an analog joystick, and for anybody that's used to using a PlayStation controller or something similar with the MiSTer, you probably find that you use your analog joystick just as much as your D-pad. I know I use my PlayStation controller really to run my MiSTer at the moment, and obviously that really does help. And you know, I do use that analog joystick quite a lot. So this is all digital, so, and there is quite a bit of play in the joystick. So if you, I mean, when I first tried it, when I was trying to run a fast-moving arcade shooter, you've got to be really quick with this joystick to try and get it to react without getting shot down. So, you know, it is quite a bit of a play with that. So if it was an analog, you wouldn't have to worry about that. But I do find my reactions are much quicker if I'm using the PlayStation controller still, either using the D-pad or the analog joystick, purely because of so much play in this joystick for it to work properly. But it's not an issue. It is technically designed for an arcade stick to replicate what you would get in an arcade cabinet. Again, the buttons are solid as well. And the other thing I will say, it is quite a noisy joystick. Hitting the buttons does create a lot of noise, as you can hear from that now. Very much more noisy than using a standard controller. So if you're the sort of person that likes to play during the early hours of the morning, late at night, when everybody else is in bed, because it's your only time that you get a bit of peace and quiet to have a bit of a gaming session, you're going to keep your household awake, because you're not going to be quiet. You can't just stick your headphones on and be quiet. This is going to be heard. Okay, so yeah, that would annoy people. I know my wife's come in a few times during the daytime and wondered what the racket was when I've been using this stick. But overall, it's a lovely joystick, and it does feel really great to use, and it does give you quite a bit of nostalgia feel when you do come to use this, especially if you're used to playing in the arcade. So who would actually buy this? Well, if you're the sort of person that doesn't play games, these retro games, very often, and you just want a bit of a nostalgia kick, it might not be for you. You know, it is an expensive joystick. If you are taking up retro gaming as a hobby and you are a regular player, it's definitely a good purchase to add to your collection, and being able to switch from this joystick and then maybe to a PlayStation 4 controller when you do need an analog stick. That's fine. Whatever helps you enjoy your experience in retro gaming. So what I'm going to do is load up a couple of games on MiSTer. and give this a quick test, and you can see me operating the joystick as I go through some of these games, and you can see for yourself how it all works. Okay, let me get everything all switched on and I'll be back in just a second. Right, I've got the arcade stick now plugged into my MiSTer. I've connected it through the 2.4G dongle, which is plugged straight into the USB hub on my MiSTer. It's connected straight to my arcade stick without any issues at all. I can get this now switched on. It should all light up and it's showing it's now connected. I've already mapped it to my MiSTer in preparation for this video, and I'm using the controller to control my menu as well. Okay, let's go to an arcade game, and I think we'll try something straightforward, and we'll go for Pac-Man. And sometimes with these, you, even though you've mapped it on your main MiSTer menu, sometimes these cores you may need to remap each individual cores, and it will store it for the next time you come and play. So you know you are using the controls that suit your gameplay for each game. That's buttons put my credits in. Hopefully that should start the game. Camera off. You do, as I said, the play in the joystick is quite far, because it's directional. You do sometimes miss the point of either the up, left, down, left or right switch. So you do need to play around with this to work out which games are best suited for this type of arcade stick. You're not going to use this arcade stick for everything. Okay. Let's try something different. Let's try 1943. Okay, let's map the buttons on this. You know what I mean? It's quite noisy on the joystick. Okay, let's see what else we've got. Let's try another game. Let's try a Spectrum game. It was select Kingston joystick. It works quite well with this game. It does feel really good, and it does really remind me of playing back in the 80s in the arcades at the seaside resorts. It does give you that feeling. It's really good, and it's quite, because it's quite a weighty unit as well. It doesn't move around. It's really good. I know what we could try. Go back to the arcades. And let's try some Double Dragon. And what I will do first is just to define the buttons. So right, left, down, up. We'll have a kick, we'll have a jump, and we'll have a punch. I'll press the start button, and I'll press LB for the coin. We'll have that as a pause. We should be able to put the credits in. Yep. And if I press start, it should work. Yeah. Been a long time since I've played this game. But I think these sort of arcade sticks are designed for this type of game. These are the original arcade. Tell you what would be good is the Street Fighter games as well, and you can make use of every single button on this controller. And it is mapped out in exactly the same way these Street Fighter controllers are set out on the arcade. With this game back in the day, I used to burn a lot of my 10-pence pieces. And still no better at it. There you go. That's the fun over with. Okay, well, hope you enjoyed that video of the 8BitDo arcade stick. Overall impressions of it, I really do like it. As I said, it's not the go-to stick for every single game you want to play. It is something that I will use regularly for the arcade games and some of the maybe the console games as well, and then obviously go back to my PlayStation 4 controller for some of the more complex games where I do need an analog joystick and maybe a more precise reactions to the game. But it's a fun bit of kit. I've not really seen anything like it for the home systems before, and you know, it is a bit more expensive than other controllers you come across. But if you are a regular gamer and you are serious about retro gaming as your hobby, it will be a purchase, you know, you won't regret making. If you just want to buy this just to play the odd game from here and there, you might, as I said, it might not be for you, but you know, give it a go. It really does feel good. Anyway, that's it from me, and I'll be back very soon.